Hello, viewers, and thank you for joining us. Today we have the lovely Rebecca. So welcome, Rebecca. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So let's get stuck in. Can you tell us where you're based, how old you are, and just a little bit about yourself?
My name's Rebecca. I'm 24. I'm based in Gloucester, Gloucestershire. I currently work for a car insurance company, which is not a very exciting job. But in my spare time, I run cooking classes and do YouTube videos. My passion is cooking, and I love being a chef. I used to be a chef, but since going vegan, I had a lot of issues with it. I didn't enjoy the amount of meat we were cooking, and I just thought there's got to be a better way of doing this. The long hours, health reasons, I ended up giving it up. So I want to do something in my spare time. So I started cooking classes in January, and yeah, that's me at the moment. That's what I do.
Brilliant. And I can say I've been to a couple of her classes and they're awesome. They're long, but they are good, and I've learned a lot. Like in the ones I've done a savoury one, which I made a lasagna, and put my little twist on it accidentally, and that turned out amazing. And I learned yum yums. That was so good. Yum yums. Who knew you could get vegan yum yums? But you can. So yeah. So thanks for that. So tell us about your vegan journey. When did you become vegan, and what was it that got you there?
Oh God, I can't remember how many years ago it was. Must be 4 or 5 years, something like that. I was my cousin went vegetarian, and I was very much like, oh, here we go, the first veggie in the family. We're quite close, me and my cousin. And she said, no, I watched Cowspiracy. You need to watch Cowspiracy. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a watch. So I watched it. And I specifically got Netflix just to watch it, just to kind of watch it and prove her wrong.
That's dedication.
Yeah, I just wanted to like watch it and then go, yeah, it's all a load of, I don't need to go veggie. Anyway, I watched it and I was like, oh my God, okay. A lot of it sort of clicked with me and made sense. And then off of the back of Cowspiracy, I ended up watching like What the Health, and I can't even remember how, there's so many documentaries on Netflix around food. I mean, most of it is based in the US, and it would be nice to see something kind of UK based. Obviously, I know it's animal agriculture is, I would say, worse in the US in terms of the standards, and also the scale of it. But it does open your eyes that it's, everybody's choices has an impact. And it kind of, the problem is it didn't make me go veggie. The first thing it did is it made me want to buy better quality food. So not just meat and dairy. So I started buying like organic stuff. I was like, I can't have anything with pesticides. I need to eat clean food, and ditch most of the meat. I also at that same time realized I was lactose intolerant, so I had to give up dairy. At the time, lactose-free stuff never really kind of came into my mind to be something that I could consider. So I just went dairy-free. That was very, very difficult. I had the first milk I tried was almond and coconut. Oh, it's horrible. Really, when you've been drinking dairy milk and then you go to something like almond and coconut, it was just horrible. I was like, how can anyone drink this?
I don't like almond milk at all. It's like the one that I just cannot get on with, even in stuff. Like, it's just gross.
It's got and coconut milk has got such a unique taste as well. So then I started doing research online and found soy milk. I tried vegan cheese for the first time. That was the last thing I gave up, was cheese, and vegan cheese was just like, but you get used to it. But yeah, I think the connection for me where I actually went vegan was, I'd heard about veganuary coming up. I just had Christmas. I felt really blobby and bloated from all the food I've been eating over Christmas. And for months and months in my head, just I see animals in field, or I'd think about something while I was eating meat, and it would just be like sort of a disconnect where I would see the pictures that I'd seen from the documentaries in my head while I'm eating the meat, but then I wouldn't put the two and two together and be like, actually, I should stop doing this. And I just remember being stood at a bus stop on my way home from work, and there were some sheep in the field opposite, and I kept thinking, if that was, in the way that they treat lambs, if that was a human child, we would be absolutely disgusted at what is happening. And I just thought, it's not normal. It is normal in the sense that, like years and years and years ago, millions of years ago,
we shouldn't be normal. Yeah.
No, in the sense of the way that we process and the way that we take them from them. I just can't, I couldn't justify it anymore at that moment in time. And so I went, right, I'm going to give it a go for 30 days. I told my partner, and he said, oh, it's going to ruin our relationship if you go vegetarian. I said, oh, well, I'm going vegan, so we're going to have no relation left by the end of it. But to be honest, the only thing, I wasn't eating dairy at that point anyway, so I think that's one of the hardest things people find to give up. So I think without being lactose intolerant, I probably would have found it very difficult. But giving up eggs, I found that really easy. I full embraced it though. We went to the shops, had a look around. I found it exciting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I started, and I don't look back.
So with your partner, did it last, or was he?
Oh yeah, we're still together. We're engaged.
Oh, congratulations!
And we live together, so it can't be that bad. And he went vegan. Well, he went vegetarian. But yeah, we don't have dairy in the house, so the only things he eats is occasionally he'll buy some eggs, which I don't agree with, but it's not very often, and I'm not gonna, I don't want to ruin our relationship. So yes, I do say things, but at the end of the day, he's an individual and he makes his own decisions. I respect that he's given up meat, and I respect that he doesn't bring dairy into the house. So for me, I respect his decision. And the thing is, I went vegan and I lost a stone, and I didn't change my diet in terms of, I was still eating the same amount of like cake and rubbish and takeaways. I just changed what I was eating. And he was like, oh my God, I'm gonna do this if I'm gonna lose some weight. And he didn't lose a thing, so I felt really bad for him.
That's the same for me. I think, like, I mean, I haven't eaten meat since I was 11, so I don't know whether it's because my body is just used to not eating meat, but I didn't lose anything when I became vegan. And to be honest, like, over the years, I think anyway, as we get older, we naturally kind of just put on the pounds anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I couldn't give a shit, to be honest.
No, I don't blame you. No. I think it was just a bonus for me. I just felt like, oh my God, like I'm feeling so much better, and I've lost this weight. I mean, I put it all back on now with lockdown, so it's kind of irrelevant, but it also gave me ammunition. Then when people spoke to me about it, I was like, yeah, I just lost a stone like within like 3 months of going vegan. You should do it.
Yeah, I suppose, because of the kind of society we live in, weight's a big thing. So I guess one more thing to kind of push people over to the other side, then yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. So is there anything, I know that you couldn't have dairy, but was there anything that you struggled to give up?
I think it would be, I think it was still dairy, although I was lactose intolerant. I've got to be honest, for a long time up until I became vegan, my partner would bring in chocolate into the house, or we'd go out and he'd have like dessert, or he'd have like, let's say, a carbonara at an Italian place, and I'd just be like, oh, can I have some, please? So he used to bring chocolate. I would say it's probably chocolate and desserts, and just like easy access of things. Because when I went vegan, although it was only 5 years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago, at the time, really the only veggie stuff they had was Linda McCartney, or the kind of the freezer stuff that the supermarkets had. There wasn't, you had corn, and I tried that to begin with when I was veggie. But aside from corn sausages, I don't think, because they did vegan ones, which they don't do anymore, which is really odd. But that was all they did. I don't remember them doing any other vegan products. So it's literally Linda McCartney, tofu, and just odd little bits the supermarkets did. So there wasn't a lot of choice. So all the things I was used to eating, like, frozen pizzas and the odd ready meal, puddings, just things that you could buy and put in the oven or put in the microwave, just quick and easy. I just found that really difficult. Not that we ate a huge amount of them, but you enjoy that sometimes you don't want to bake a cake, or you don't want to cook a meal, and I found that really difficult. Not being able to, now you've got so many options. But being dairy free and then obviously transitioning to vegan, I just found like it was almost like, no, you can't have anything. I remember going to Zizi's. I love Zizi's. If you don't know what it is, it's an Italian restaurant. It's a chain restaurant, but they do like pizzas, pasta. And we went there, and luckily they did vegan cheese. And this was the first restaurant I'd ever been to where they actually catered for dairy-free and vegan people. And it was the most amazing cheese. But on top of that, the dessert was sorbet, and it was like, that's it. There's nice. My partner was having like sticky toffee I don't know, like shortcake cake, some mash of many desserts all together, and like a cookie dough sundae, and I was there eating my lemon sorbet. So it's like things like that. It's like now you go there and you've got like at least two or three options. But back then it was like, oh, we can give you a bowl of fruit, and that's about it.
Isn't it crazy how much times have changed over, like, I conveniently, I think, accidentally just turned vegan at the right time, because I remember when I was vegetarian, I was saying to my friend yesterday, because we went out for a meal, I was like, I used to literally just have like chips and beans, or chips and a corn on the cob, because that literally was all they had, even just for a vegetarian. And I remember, feeling so excluded everywhere I went, and like a burden too to all of my friends that wanted to go and eat out. But I kind of I didn't make a big deal out of it, because I didn't want to ruin everyone's experience, so I just get on with it and just make sure I ate decent food during the day. And then when I went out, because I knew that I was not going to be able to eat barely anything, but it used to be an absolute nightmare. And I'm a massive foodie, and a lot of my friends, they love food, so me going out for lunch or for dinner, it was a real big thing. So I'm just so thankful that we live in a time that actually it's becoming more and more widely accepted. I don't really even tend to meet people that kind of batter an eyelid when I say, oh, I'm vegan, because there's just so much out there for us and so many more opportunities. Literally once, I've been vegan for 2 years, once have I ever gone to a place that they're like, no, we have literally nothing for vegans. So the world has just come on so well, and it's so easy. Obviously not everywhere in the world is like it, but for a lot of us it's just so easy to be vegan now because of that. So yeah, I'm so grateful for it. So I can only imagine how difficult it would have been to be vegan 5 years ago. It would have been hard, really hard, because I just remember how hard even being vegetarian was. So I put my hat off to you for
thank you
taking the plunge.
I think I must have got in there just at the right time. Literally, I think we were vegan for about 6 months, and then the boom happened. And I remember the first proper veganuary the year after, and the Greg's vegan sausage roll came out. And well, I think it was then, it might have been the year after. I get all my years mixed up, but I just remember. And then the stuff came out, and there was the Goodfellas falafel pizza, and it was like, oh my god, there's a
amazing,
pizza.
that one.
So it was just, and then when they started bringing out the dairy-free cheeses, and you're like, oh my god, look, I can get chili and jalapeno cheese, and and applewood cheese. The vegan applewood cheese was an absolute game changer for me. Just, I was eating it going, oh my god, it's like cheese. It's actually like cheese. So yeah, I think 4 or 5 years ago, it was like the tipping point. I think more and more people have come onto the idea now. You only have to look at, I've got my cousins. I've got 2 cousins. One of my cousins is the same age as me, and the other one is about 3 years younger. And then my brother is 5 to 6 years younger than me, and all of them are aware of veganism. My cousin is vegetarian, but she wants to be a vegan, but she's finding it very hard to give up dairy and eggs. My younger cousin is he's a pescatarian, but he does eat a lot of vegan and vegetarian foods. And my brother, I introduced him to what's that big Game Changers. I made him watch Game Changers, and he was like, oh, it's going to be so boring, I don't want to watch this. And halfway through, he was like jaw dropped onto the floor. He was like, oh my god, I never realized meat is so bad for you. And I was like, yeah, it is. And then he was like, right, I'm going vegan. And the next morning my mum was like, do you want a bacon sandwich? And he was like, no, I'm going vegan, I'm not eating any more meat.
Wow, that's amazing. You go,
so
girl.
It just shows you the generation that like I said, my cousins and my brother kind of are in. We're all openly aware. It's just about taking that next step. Whereas my parents are more like, oh, you need dairy for your calcium and things like that. So yeah, I think it has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything that you miss that you haven't found yet that's vegan?
I say chocolate could be better. Um, I think I think now it's not so much miss, because I think there is enough option. Don't get me wrong, there's always going to be odd things that I think about and go, oh, I wish that this place did, an alternative for that. But I just think in terms of stepping things up, I would say the ready meals are there. You can get pizzas very easily. I mean, I go to Morrison's and they'll make me a fresh pizza up at the counter using Violife cheese. So there's loads of options depending on where you live. I think it's about stepping up. I think chocolate needs to be better, and I think cheese needs to be better. The Applewood cheese was good, but now it's like 2 years later. And
yeah, and they haven't really made any more, have they? Apart from the
yeah,
Camembert thing,
I
Camembert,
never
whatever it's
got to
called.
try that. It's always sold out whenever I go to
Oh, really?
Sainsbury's.
But that's what it was like with Applewood, wasn't it? I think I
Yeah,
didn't have Applewood for like 6 months because everywhere I went, it was gone. And I was like, oh,
I know,
whatever. I don't care. Like, I don't really
I
eat it
know.
very much, even though I like it. Like, when I want cheese on toast, like that's what I'll have, the Applewood cheese. But I don't really eat cheese that much anymore. I think that's
No,
why, for me, I found it easier to go vegan, because I used to be obsessed with cheese, and then suddenly I went off it because I started feeling lethargic and stuff. So it was much easier for me. So
yeah,
yeah, so I don't really eat that much cheese anymore, which is just weird in my brain. It's
yeah,
like, it's just really strange to hear myself say that even now, but yeah. So
yeah. No, I think the best chocolate I've had is the Nomo caramel. But it gets very sickly very quickly. And aside from that, there's you don't like when you grab a bar of Galaxy, you're like, like obviously the dairy Galaxy, you're like, oh, as I remember it, it's like mouth watering,
yeah,
it's melting your mouth, and then you have a bite of vegan chocolate and you're like,
you don't get the same
sweeteners.
experience. I will tell
It's
you,
not.
I actually found a chocolate which for me feels like it's the one. Like, I don't eat chocolate very much. I'm not a big on chocolate, and I haven't been, like, for most of my life, to be fair. But there is one chocolate. It's called Hip, and it's awesome as well because it's like plastic free and everything. Like, so yeah, Hip chocolate. I highly recommend. Like, I can eat a whole bar of it. Like, I'm talking the big bar. It's amazing. Like, and I'm
Where'd you
not,
get that from?
so you have to buy it online, and they do it in bulk, or you can buy individuals, but it's easier to do bulk. I think they have like a tester pack, which is like, I think it was like £11 or something for 4 of them. So they have a pretzel one, they have a salted caramel, which is my favorite. They have a normal one, which I wasn't like a big fan of, and another one, but I think it was like cookie crumble or something like that. But they are so good. So, like, for the chocoholics out there, honestly, you need to get Hip. It's spelled H with an exclamation point and then P. Um, just eco syrup, which is my version of Google.
Yeah.
And you'll find it. But honestly, that is the best. Apart from Nomo, Nomo's the best in my opinion. Um, yeah, Hip is the one that you want if you love chocolate. So just saying, and you're
I
welcome.
will give it a go.
Yeah, 100%. It's so good. I was just blown away. My friend found it and she bought it for me. So yeah, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's just so good. Like, and I never thought I would ever experience eating chocolate in that way that you just described, but Hip does it. So speaking about, so you've spoken about a little bit already how you've kind of like, you've done a bit of vegan activism by just kind of talking to people that you know and and what's the word I'm looking for, introducing them into like documentaries. Is there any other like vegan activism that you've ever been involved in?
I did the Cube of Truth
Oh wow.
back in good old 2019 when the world was right. Yeah, I did the Cube of Truth October 2019 through to about February 2020, and then obviously we had to stop. And it's sort of resumed, but I've got a lot of anxiety about leaving the house. So, and I'm so busy with my cooking classes, I don't really have time to do
Yeah,
stuff like that.
that's fair.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was different and it was interesting, and people were quite welcoming. You did get the odd idiot who would shout stuff at you, or somebody came up to us and they were like, oh, I thought you were talking about Brexit. No. So I don't know where that came from.
Just for people that don't know what that is, can you just give a brief explanation as to what the cube of truth is?
Of course. Yeah, so most people have probably seen them but not really known what they are. So in every kind of, or most towns and cities, there's a group of people who stand in like a square or cube, rectangle, depending on how many people are there, and they hold up devices, TVs, laptops, iPads, and basically show footage from, I think one is like Earthlings, Dominion, and then other footage from like documentaries that show slaughterhouses and basically cruelty on farms and how they kill the animals. It is really gruesome, and even I, having already seen some of that and knowing what goes on, when you watch that, it is horrific. So I can't imagine how somebody in a member of the public would feel. But we basically stand there, as I said, with devices and also cards that say like truth, to try and capture people's attention. They also wear the anonymous masks, so you can't see the person's face, and that's why I'm saying most people probably would have seen them. If you see a big group of people wearing anonymous masks,
it does look quite dodgy, doesn't
it? And that's the thing, is it's meant to, because the purpose is that you can't see the screens from far away because of normally the glare from like the sun, or from the lighting, and because you do it outside, and so people see truth, and then they see these people with these masks on, dressed in black, and you come forward, and then that's when you start to see the footage. And you'd think that most people would walk past, and don't get me wrong, people do walk past, but you actually get quite a few people who stop and they're like, oh, what's that? And then they start watching it and they're going, oh my God, that's awful. And that's when the people on the outside of the cube will then step in and say something like, have you ever seen something like this before? Were you aware this is what happens? Or just describe basically, we're just showing you an English slaughterhouse. This is what goes on behind closed doors. And it is really eye-opening. And the thing is, when you're standing there with the device, and you've got your mask on, you're looking at the people in the eyes, but they don't see you because you've got your mask on. So it's very interesting to watch the person have talks with that member of the public, and to see their reaction as well when they're watching, because you don't really know what they're watching because you can't see the device. And it is really hard. And I've had conversations with people and they're like, oh no, even though they've just watched the footage, they're like, no, I couldn't do it. And I do get that. It does take time. And I think people who are like, oh, these people are so selfish, I don't think it's about people being selfish or people, being ignorant. It's just a case of it's something that they've done from the age since they were born. That's how they grew up. It's how they've been conditioned. My dad used to drive us past fields of lambs and sheep and make a joke and go, oh, we're going to have that lamb for dinner. And then my mum would say like, oh, don't be so cruel. Like, don't say that in front of the kids. But that disconnect there, it's like, oh, that's cruel to say, but it's not cruel to do.
Yeah.
And it's that's what we're trying to get across to people in the cube of truth, is that it's about starting the cogs turning and starting for them to think about it. And then the next time when they come to sit down and have a burger, they might think about the footage they've watched and think, although they've ordered the burger, it might start to make them go, oh, actually next time I'll go for a veggie option. I had a lady who I spoke to, it must have been a half an hour conversation at the Cube of Truth. And I was talking to her about the options and saying how I went vegan, and I said, I completely get it. She went, it's just so hard, and a lot of the options are more expensive. And I get that. You try to buy vegan bacon and it's like £3 a pack. You buy meat bacon and it's like £1.50 a pack. Yeah. So it is more expensive, because especially when when vegans say, oh, well, it's really, it's really easy to be vegan now. There's loads of burgers and cheese and ready meals. Yes, there is, but it's not cheap.
No.
If, unless you want to be eating beans and rice and baked beans on toast, it's not a cheap alternative. It is very expensive.
But then unfortunately we do have at least like the supermarket's own stuff. There's quite a lot of variety, and that is more reasonable. So it's like usually like £1.75, isn't it? So and that will do you for like, if you're on your own, like 3 meals, most of them, or more, depending on how much you eat. So like there can be ways around it, I guess. But absolutely. I totally agree, But then
they need to bring the price down.
Yeah.
I think Co-op was doing that.
Yeah, they won't know until there's more demand for it. And this is the thing, like if everyone started to be introduce more vegan into their lifestyle, then it would go down, because
Yeah.
you know, that's how meat is so cheap, because everyone eats it and they're able to
Yeah.
do that. So you know, that's what
And
it comes down to. Yeah.
I think on the face of it as well, although it does, the products are more expensive. I think if you're careful about, because this is what I was explaining to the lady I was speaking to, I said it's about picking and choosing. Don't go for the really expensive stuff. But it's not just about price. You've got to think about the price that's being paid for that cheap meat. You know, nothing, just because it's on a supermarket shelf doesn't mean it comes from a happy, shining, smiling farm, and you know the animals are running around and having the time of their lives. And it's like anything, you know, even down to fruit and vegetables, cheap fruit and veg has a cost. And that's what it's got to be considered when it's not just, oh, it's in the supermarket, so therefore I can buy it. There is a reason, there is a process of how that food got there, whether that is fruit and veg or
Yeah,
or meat.
absolutely.
And it's just about eating less and enjoying the good, better quality food. You know, I'd much rather put aside an extra 20 quid a month towards food. And I appreciate not everybody can do that. And that's not an option for some people. I do get that. But I'm talking about, you know, the people who, you know, I'm not on a huge amount of money, but I would say that I could move things around. And, you know, I'd rather put 20 quid
Same.
extra, 50 quid extra towards food than buy myself a new dress or
Yeah,
buy, you know,
absolutely.
go out for food. So I think that's what I was trying to explain to her anyway. And she kind of went away, and I wasn't sure whether I'd got through to her. And she came back about half an hour later with a falafel salad from the local falafel man in Cheltenham where I did it. And she was like, "Look, I didn't go for the meat option.
Oh,
I didn't go for the
amazing.
chicken. I went for the falafel." And it's small things like that. You know, she might buy a burger next, but it's that for that
She's
lunch she
open.
decided to do that. And you know, and she was like, "Oh, it's fantastic, I love it, it's more delicious than the chicken would have been."
Yeah.
And that's when it really touches you, and you think you've made a difference to that one person.
Yeah.
That one person will then speak to their family and friends,
And it does
and
make a
that's
difference too, doesn't it? Like, you know,
yeah,
by not buying one burger, you are essentially saving one animal. Like, you know, and there's a lot of this, you know, I'm not going to make a difference, or, you know, the people that are trying, there are some vegans that are like, oh, it's not good enough, you're still causing all this havoc. But it doesn't have to be that way. Like, I'm definitely one of these people that, like, if you just choose, like, for one meal to eat a vegan option rather than a meat, then good, congratulations, I'm proud of you. Like, and I really strongly believe that, because it is hard, you know, it's you know, we've been conditioned this way, and you know, to eat all this stuff, and that it's normal and whatever, and but you're being open, like, and you're willing. And I think that's amazing when people are willing to do that. Like, obviously I would rather everyone be vegan, but I still appreciate those that try, you know, even if they're not going to go vegan, if they're going to cut down their meat, then that's making a difference too, and that's saving animals. So if you're one of those people, like, wholeheartedly, I thank you for making an effort, because it is worth it, and it means a lot to us as well. You know, we
you
appreciate you.
only have to look at like the Greg's vegan sausage roll. When people say go in veggie or vegan, doesn't make a difference. It does, because Greg's brought out a vegan sausage roll. It's still on the market, and
Yeah,
their stock prices went through the roof when they released that vegan sausage roll. So people that are investing in companies and investing in these products, they know there's a market there. And although it's not, you know, that their heart isn't in it in for the animals, it's for the the money. That's what we want to get behind,
yeah,
because if we can get more companies producing veggie options, that's a meat option that's taken off the shelf. And that's what I think annoys me when people, and I will say this, and I know some people would disagree with me, and I'm going to say it, ignore the haters, but that's why it does get to me when vegans say, well, I'm not going to shop at anywhere that kills an animal. I'm not going to go to McDonald's, KFC, or any. I know they're bad companies, I'm not denying that. Nestle, for one, is a terrible company,
yeah,
but those companies are still going to sell to non-vegans, and those non-vegans are still going to buy those products. So you are helping a smaller business. I'm not going to deny that you're helping a good business, and I don't think we should stop doing that. But people are not going to stop shopping at supermarkets. And if they take a pizza off the shelf and replace it with a vegan pizza, that is progress, and
yeah,
that's what we want to see. And I think that's where it's like, it's about opening your mind. And if you want to shop like that, that's absolutely your choice. And again, like my partner wanting to be vegetarian, that's his choice, and I'm not going to force anyone. But it's about looking at the bigger picture and what do we really want to achieve. And I think the other thing is when you're arguing with people who aren't vegan and they go, oh yeah, but vegetables and crops kill, you know, mice and rats
Insects
and hares
and yeah.
And yes, they probably do. I'm not going to deny that either.
No.
But it's about, what's the worst? The worst is you've got a sausage that's made from a pig that was gassed to death in a chamber. That's pretty awful. Yes, I don't agree with farmers, you know, using big machinery to harvest the crops. But again, that's if you buy, well, it's probably all the same in organic farming as well. And, you know, I don't buy all my fruit and veg organic. I'm going to be, you know. But what I'm trying to say is that if we go vegetarian and vegan, go vegan, you know, then we sort out that problem. Then we go to the problem of like, right, so okay, so what do we need to change about agriculture in regards to harvesting fruit and vegetables? How can we do this more humanely? How can we do this without hurting animals? But you look at anything, and this is why it annoys me when people say, you know, oh, but fruit and veg is harming the world and the ecosystem and the animals. Yes, it is, but so are mobile phones, so are cars, so are us breathing, so is us living. Should we just take a knife to the throat and, you know, let's hang us?
Exactly.
I don't know what it's about doing the best you can.
Yeah.
And that's what really I get really stressed. But that's what it's about. It's about doing the best you can. And if you really don't believe that not eating an animal product is going to make a difference or make you feel better or, you know, save an animal, then I would say you don't have a heart. And I don't mean that in a horrible way, but I mean, if you really dig deep and you honestly say to yourself, no, I think it's fine to watch the footage of what's going on to these animals and say, I'm happy to continue eating that, you don't have a heart. And that's not me being horrible, that's just the truth. I can't take my dog and say, oh God, I really fancy ribs tonight. I'm gonna sacrifice my dog so that I can have some ribs. If you said that to anybody, they would be like, I wouldn't kill my dog for ribs. That's not even, it wouldn't,
in this country.
Yeah, but it wouldn't even cross their mind.
No.
But if you put, I'm going to eat this chicken leg to, I'm going to eat my dog's leg, you would go, no, I'm not going to do that because it's not worth me killing the dog to have a meal.
Yeah.
Of course it's not.
No.
But it doesn't matter because it's an animal that's in a factory miles away from you that you can't see.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's about changing people's minds and actually digging deep and saying to yourself, can I actually make a difference? Would I agree with this if it was my own child? Would I agree with this if it was my own dog? We don't need to eat meat. I've done it for 5 years. You've done it for 2 years. I'm sure there are vegans that have been vegan for 50 years.
Yeah.
And you know what? They are some of the healthiest people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say the very last thing, that, you know, there are vegans that are unhealthy. And, you know, like there are non-vegans that are unhealthy.
Yeah.
There are non-vegans that are very healthy. But if you eat right and you plan your meals and you don't eat loads of processed foods, you don't eat loads of takeaways, you eat healthy, balanced diet, you will be healthy, and you will be healthier than if you had meat in your diet. And that's been scientifically proven.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've just given you that there's no reason, every viewer, there's no reason for you not to go vegan.
I love it.
No
Brilliant.
arguments.
This has been very, very insightful. I'm loving this interview. So let's move on to our next question. So how would you say that veganism has personally impacted your life?
Oh gosh, it's done it in lots of ways. I think for me, it's made me feel wholesome, I think is the best way to describe it. I mean, I remember the first couple of days, or I think it was the first week into eating vegan, I just had so much energy. 10 o'clock at night, I was like running around the house. I had so much energy. And I just wanted to go. And then I started losing weight and I felt fantastic. My mental health improved because I get bogged down when your clothes don't fit you and you're like, oh, and you feel really, and you eat, when I was eating meat, I was feeling really bloated after dinner. And just feeling really crummy all the time. So in that side of things, I felt 100% better. I was having some health issues before I went vegan, and they sort of improved, not completely went away, but they did improve when I went vegan. And I was preparing a lot more fresh food. And I would say the most exciting thing was like when I was going to supermarkets, and every time I saw a new product coming out, I was like, oh, it's really exciting. I want to try that.
Isn't it like being, I always say this because this is so me, like being vegan has turned me into a massive foodie. And I literally am like a child in a toy shop. Whenever I find any vegan products, I just get so excited because I want to try everything. Like, so yeah, I totally get that, and I'm completely the same.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, me and my partner would, like, we don't drive, so we get buses everywhere, but we would go like to Asda, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Tesco, all in one day to go and pick up the new products that we hadn't tried yet. And then we'd go home and I would cook them all, and we would sit there and we'd try them and be like, oh my God, it tastes like chicken. So I did really enjoy kind of the adventure. It's kind of, because there's so much saturating of the market now, I just don't have the money and the time to be going and finding all the products, because they're always bringing out new stuff. But it is good, and I save money as well. I think I spent about 20 quid less every month, 20 to 30 pounds less. It's probably £10 a week, I would say, less than when I was buying meat, because at the time before I went vegan, I was buying all free range and organic meat to kind of justify still buying meat, but knowing that I felt bad about it. So that's very expensive. Excuse me. That's very expensive. So when I switched to being vegan, I did save money. So yeah, I mean, it's had positives and negatives. When I told my mum and my dad are split up. So when I told my mum, she was like, okay, sort of half embraced it. She didn't check labels. She kind of forgot half the time. She kept going, oh yeah, you can't have dairy. Oh yeah, you can't have eggs. Oh, I forgot about. I've bought some Doritos, the cool ones that have got the milk in. I think she bought them 4 times. Every time I went round before, I said to her, look, I said, I can't have these ones. These have got milk in them. All you have to do is check the pack. She was like, I don't know what I'm looking for. So that was kind of a little bit, I don't know. I didn't feel like she really, frustrating. That's the word. Then I told my dad, and he was like, yeah, this is a phase. You'll grow out this phase. And then, they were like, oh, just eat some meat, stop being silly. So it was that decided telling my family. I found that a little bit more tricky. Friends and stuff were quite embracing. So I did feel like in my own home, it was very positive, the change. But there is that negative when it comes to telling family members. The way I see it, at the end of the day, it's your life. It doesn't matter whether your parents don't agree with you. Take your own food. That's what I did. Or invite them round to yours. I just feel like it shouldn't be such an issue what I eat or what I put on my plate. Why does it cause so much issue? It's I guess it's like people hold it close to their heart, and they're like, how can you not eat meat? We've always been eating meat, and I don't know, it's like divided the country. People will literally
I think it's like it almost, I think it triggers something in people, because suddenly they're confronted with that it's not okay to do. So it's almost like, I think they have trouble. Yeah, it's a defense, because there's a part of their brain that I think agrees, but they don't want to agree. So, and it makes
so they're not arguing with you, they're arguing with the little
themselves.
Voice inside their head.
Yeah, I do. I honestly think that's what it is. Because I really strongly believe, like, I don't think there is a person on this planet that doesn't somewhat care about animals. I just can't imagine that is a thing. And so, it is a defense mechanism. Our brains protect us all the time from everything. And I do think that's why people are so like aggressive sometimes, because they can't admit themselves that it's not okay, because then they would have to admit that what they're doing is not okay. And for a lot of people, because there's a lot of shame in the world, they see that as, well, I'm a bad person. If I do something wrong, I'm a bad person. And that's hard. Like, it's not true. Like, I don't believe anyone's a bad person. I think we do bad things, but we're not bad people. Like, so yeah, I get why on that aspect. I get why people act like that.
And I can get it if you're from a farming background, or you're a farmer, and you know, you're protecting your livelihood. I can completely understand where that frustration, maybe that anger comes from. But I don't get, like, my dad, he's not a farmer, he's not from a farming background, he's just, you know, works in an office, and I just don't get it. He just gets so irate. It's like what's the word? It it disrupts like his identity. You know, it's almost like it's a threat to his life, his not livelihood, sorry, his identity. And I don't get it. It's such a strange, when you really think about it, it's just food.
Yeah.
Why is it disrupting so many? Why do people have such an issue with it? You know, people get, like, Earthling Ed, he gets death threats from people.
And
it's
he's the
disgusting.
most, I know, and he's the most, like, I understand, you know, people like Joey Carbstrong, for example, because he's quite
He's
blunt.
full on.
He's very full on and very blunt, and he's got worse over the years. Like, I love Joey. You know, I appreciate his bluntness, but it's not for everybody. And to be honest, it doesn't, you know, for a lot of people, that does make them get defensive. So I kind of understand why he gets a lot of shit. But like Earthling Ed, he's like the most passive
Calm.
person ever. So calm. The way he approaches everything is like so, you know,
logical,
non-judgmental, and yeah, he's just so nice about it. But yeah, even so it just kind of goes to show this is why I've concluded that it's because it triggers something in them with the shame. I think that's why people act like that, based on people like Earthling Ed. Yeah, because there's no other explanation to me.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So I've asked you that question. So what is something that you personally love to eat as a vegan? What are your favorite vegan foods?
Oh gosh, there must be so many. I probably categorize it into two things, like food I like making and then food I like buying. So the food I like buying, I would definitely have to say Ben and Jerry's vegan ice cream.
Oh yes,
I could eat
peanut butter one is amazing.
Oh, it's got to be the cookie dough one for me. I don't know if it's called, I can't remember which one it's called. I think it is cookie dough, but yeah, it's got the cookie dough. Oh, lovely. It's like caramel vanilla ice cream. Oh, beautiful. And I don't think you could tell the difference. Delicious. And I have to say, sausages, and it sounds like a really weird one going from ice cream to sausages, but I've just thought about it. I never liked sausages when I was a kid. When my parents used to give me meat sausages, I thought they were horrible, really gristly, big, fat, thick things. And now I can't get enough of them, like Naked Glory, the Richmond ones. I'm like, oh my god, these are delicious. I could eat like 3 of these. Whereas I couldn't even like eat one as a kid. So there are, you know, a couple of things I would definitely say in terms of treats, Ben and Jerry's, but vegan sausages, I could just cook those and eat them on the fork. Really delicious. And a lot of the time when we take them around to like barbecues and stuff, people try them and they go, oh, I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
So it is really good like that. In terms of cooking, because obviously I do my cooking classes, curries. I was never a massive curry fan again before going vegan. And that's because I used to buy, or get, my parents used to buy a lot of Indian takeaways. And with the Indian takeaways, you do just get like meat and sauce, and that's it. And I never really liked eating the meat. I just used to have the sauce with a tiny bit of meat. And now, like, I pack them full of veg, pack them full of spices, and that's how I like them. And I don't really feel like you get that in the supermarkets and at the Indian takeaways, unless you go to a really, really good Indian takeaway. But a lot of the time, they're just oily and sugary, and I don't really enjoy them. So I like making curries at home because it's never something I've been very good at, and I've kind of perfected it over the last couple of years. And I can pack it full of whatever I love.
Awesome. Yeah, curries seems to be quite a popular choice for like vegans introducing vegan food to non-vegans too, I've noticed. And so yeah, I totally get why. There's so many things you can do with it, isn't there? So
yeah,
very, very diverse. So if you're not vegan yet and you want to, or you're learning to cook, then curries is the place to start, I would say, isn't it?
Yes.
So
yeah, 100%.
So our final question then is, if you could give one piece of advice to somebody that's not yet vegan but is kind of thinking about it, what would you say to them?
Oh, there's so many things I want to say. One piece of advice. If I had a friend sat next to me and I was trying to convince them to go vegan, I wouldn't I wouldn't go into much detail. I would just literally say to them, take 2 hours tonight or a night you've got free and watch the Game Changers. It's not animal based, it's health based, and it will open your eyes. I've been vegan for 3 years and I watched it and I was still shocked. So watch the Game Changers, see how you feel after that, and message me if you want some recipes.
Love it. Nice, quick and simple answer. Awesome. Right. So
also, it's oh, sorry, I was going to say also
sorry.
it's not as hard as you think it is. That's the other piece of advice I would give.
Right.
It's
Okay.
really not as hard as you think it's going to be.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Good pieces of advice there. So to end, before we say goodbye, if anybody watching would like to personally get in contact with you, how can they reach you?
So I've got a Facebook page which is called Plant-Based Cooking Classes. That's on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, and I am slowly getting onto TikTok, but I'm not quite sure how to do the videos yet. So Plant-Based Cooking Classes. I also on Eventbrite. That's where I run all my classes from. I run cooking classes on a Wednesday evening, 6 till 8, Sunday 3 till 5. We cook everything. Curries, yums. I'm doing an apple crumble soon with custard.
Oh, nice.
Everyday sort of casseroles. I'm trying to think on the top of falafels. So yeah, we make a range of things, but I'm plant-based cooking classes. Drop me an email, drop me a message, and I can help out. And we have lots of fun.
What's your email address?
It's RAS_stock, my last name, STOCK @hotmail.co.uk.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you very much. Well, it's
worries.
been amazing chatting to you. So thank you so much for all your insights and sharing all your journey with us.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this helpful, and hopefully we'll see you on the other side. So you can also contact me on Facebook, and we have our Vegan Bloomers group on Facebook too, which is a resource-based community, which has loads of things, places you can go to eat, things to avoid, things to eat, like my recommendations, personal recommendations. I'm constantly posting stuff on there. There's a lot on there. Or if you have any questions or anything, you don't have to be vegan to be in there. It's literally for anybody and everybody that is interested in veganism. So yeah, I hope that we will see some new members soon. That would be amazing. And yeah, thank you again for watching, and take care. Much love.